Interested in real estate? How about wealth? Well, they go hand in hand. And here, you'll learn all about it. Welcome to Be the Bank, a podcast where we discuss and debate the topics centered around real estate investing. Your host, Justin Bogard, shares insights into investing in real estate to create real wealth and passive income for you and your family. He'll share stories of real estate investments done right, walk you through the process of owning a real estate note, and most importantly, educate you so you can be the bank. This is Be the Bank, brought to you by BrightPath Notes. Now, here's your host, Justin Bogard.
All right, welcome to another episode number 6 of the Be the Bank podcast. I'm your host, Justin Bogard. And today, we're going to be talking and discussing with my friend Jay Redding about a rental portfolio and a note portfolio and the differences of them and what's kind of better and what is not better and what situations may arise that can be interesting about these two. So that's the main topic of discussion today. And if you stay tuned, you'll hear some more. This episode is brought to you by BrightPath Notes. Mr. Jay Redding, how are you, man?
Hey, I'm doing great, Justin. Good to be with you today.
It's great having you on today as well. And I've known you for a couple years now, and you are definitely in the note investing community, and you're kind of local to me. So you actually live in the Fort Wayne area of Indiana, which for those of you that are listening is kind of the north and east part of the state. And I'm kind of in the middle of the state.
That is correct.
Yeah. So we're just a few hours apart, man.
Only about 2 at the most.
But yet we only see each other at like major conventions.
That is true. We need to change that, don't we?
Yeah, we do. We do. So Jay, the listener here doesn't have a lot of familiarity with you. So I'd like to give you a chance to kind of walk through a little bit of your story with real estate and kind of where you started, what you did when you started, and kind of bring you to today.
Sure. Be happy to. I did my first deal in 2004. I was working for a pharmaceutical company at that period in time, and I was about 8 years away from early retirement. So, I mean, I look at all you young guys out here now. I got a pretty late start. So, for all of you that are a little bit older down the road, there's hope for you. Okay, I just want you to know
it's not too late.
It's not too late. That's exactly right. But I got caught in the downsizing in the pharmaceutical industry. 2000 and did my first deal 2004, went full time in 2007. That's what I did. And when I went full time, we only had probably 8 or 9 properties at that time as far as rentals were concerned. And my wife and I, we basically sat down, and she's was an elementary school teacher. She's now retired, but she was elementary teacher at that time. And we made a decision to go for it. And we lived off of her income and built our portfolio out and used private money to be able to do that because I technically was not bankable because I didn't have a W-2 job at that point in time. I had only one choice. I had to find private money, which is what we did. And we built our portfolio up. Now we were up as high as 50 rentals. We're at 40 rentals, total of 48 doors right now. We typically do about 3 to 5 retail flips a year. We buy tax liens, and then we're building out a portfolio of notes right now. And we're probably scaling back more on the tax liens and only doing the flips when it really makes sense. I mean, I had someone tease me, you're not going to get out of bed unless you're going to make at least 20% or plus. And I said, that's about right. I'm not. So
right. You probably licked your wounds long enough with some deals that you're just like, yeah, it's got to be some juice in there for them.
There's got to be a lot of juice in there for me to be able to go and do a flip now. But we got one going right now, which should be a really good one. So
good. So the real property part of your portfolio, the rentals and the flips and the taxing and stuff, that part, is it just locally, like in the Fort Wayne area of Indiana?
Good question. Yes. All of our rental properties are right around Fort Wayne, well, within the city of Fort Wayne, specifically designed that way. We have all of our crews here. It just makes it very, very simple. Literally, they're all within about 30 minutes of our office, and
nice.
It was designed specifically that way.
Nice. So then you probably have your own property management company as well?
Yes, we do, but we only manage our own properties.
Okay.
We don't manage anybody else's. Heavens no, I would never want to
Well,
do that.
with 48, that's a good handful there.
That's correct. And Kyle came on board my son-in-law, Kyle came on board a few years ago, and that is what he is pretty much running, is the property management part, and also helps with the flips and doing our notes as well. But that's his primary responsibility, and making sure all the books on the back end are right and all that.
Okay, great. So let's take it to some notes. So
Sure.
do you have a note portfolio as well as a rental portfolio?
That is correct, yes.
Okay.
My portfolio is nothing like your portfolio, though.
Well, I don't know about that. I don't count anything that I have. So I may not be proud of some of the ones, but I don't offer those for sale. Right?
Understood.
Yeah. So are you into non-performing or performing?
We have done non-performing. We have performing. We've done partials and hypothecation. So we've done all of those.
Okay, so you're pretty well-rounded. All right.
Yeah.
So I'm setting you up to show that you are.
I know you are. You're setting
sides of the rental side and the note side. So this is an ongoing debate when you get into real estate and you learn about notes. You have people that love rentals and you have people that love notes. You have people that have done both, like yourself and myself as well. Now, granted, for full disclosure, I've not had a portfolio of 40 rentals before. I've had a few rentals, and that was enough experience for me to not want to be a landlord anymore. So I want to get into the discussion of talking about what is it like for being a landlord with a portfolio of 40 plus rentals at your disposal, and then also managing those rentals as well. So I'm sure you have some good stories and some bad stories, but let's just talk about what is the logistics of running a portfolio of rentals like that.
Sure. One of the critical things that you have to have, and learn this very quickly early on due to some, I'll say some disasters. All right.
Yeah.
You get baptized pretty quick if you don't.
I like that word. Get baptized.
Yes, you get baptized pretty quick if you don't have systems and processes in. And we took time out in business and developed a really good system that we have that, regardless of who we had managing our properties, that they could walk in and pretty much do it. Okay, because if they're just following what our systems are. Our systems and processes have evolved some over the years, but quite honestly, most of our residents now, they stay with us 3 to 5, 6, 7 years at a time. We have one turnover going on right now, which is the first turnover we've had in 3 years in our entire portfolio.
That's good.
It is. All right. So we've got that honed down very well. We know specifically the type of candidate that we're looking for.
Okay.
And it has worked well. Now, saying that, you got to have systems and processes in place to handle the maintenance. I mean, you're going to get those maintenance calls. It's just part of the business.
Yeah.
Fortunately, the crews that we have on board, they've been with us for 10 plus years. It is nice that all I got to do is, or Kyle, either one of us, is make a telephone call and we know it's going to be taken care of. Or if we're going to have a turnover, our team, we can come in and do the scope of work, and everyone has a direction, and we just basically have to just check from time to time, see how progress is going and timing things up. We have, we're about 2 weeks out from being done with a turnover that we're doing right now, and we already have our next client ready to move in on April 1.
So I'll just tell you this, from hearing this story from you, this is the first time I've heard this story from you as far as how your portfolio is working with your rentals, but it is working very well for you.
Yes, it is.
Have you bought a lottery ticket lately?
No, I have not.
You probably should.
I'll leave that to my wife. I'll leave that to my wife. She's the one that wins that kind of stuff. I never win that kind of stuff.
You have in my opinion, you have a very lucky portfolio, but I think it's like you said, it's by design. So you took the proper measures and you wanted to make it a business to have a portfolio of rentals, and you have the proper systems and processes in place, and it allows you to have success. So having those long-term tenants like you do, you said 5 to 7 years, like I've not heard of anyone else have that to be a majority of their rental portfolio. like
Yeah,
that.
I mean, we've got some that's been with us now 10 years, and we have done rent increases along the way as
Yeah.
well. So we've stayed. It's been a little hard keeping up with market rents right now because
Yeah.
they've been jumping so fast, but we are increasing every year based upon what's going on in the market, and we are market competitive in that respect.
Okay.
I think it really, a lot of it gets back to good communication that we do with our residents, so they understand where we're coming from. We listen to what they want. We are attentive to what they're requesting, and at the same time, when there is a maintenance request, we get it addressed typically within 24 hours.
Okay. That's great. And just knowing you, Jay, from offline outside this podcast, you communicate very well. So that doesn't surprise me that that's one of your things that stick out of how you run that management of the rentals.
So thank you.
Yeah. So okay. So you have definitely a lot of experience with rentals, and you've grossed this I'll call this large portfolio of for a small business of notes. I'm sorry, rentals here. And so you also have dabbled into the note space as well. And so what are some things that you see in the note space that are similar with the rental portfolio as far as like managing a note portfolio? And we'll get into the mechanics of a note portfolio in a minute, but what are some similarities there?
Sure. Here's some of the similarities that I see. If you're going to do a non-performing type of note, I kind of look at that as very similar to a flip. Okay. If you're going to get the property back, you're going to take it through the foreclosure process, you're going to get a chunk if you've purchased correctly. Same thing happens on the flip side. If you buy right, you do the rehab, you're going to get a chunk of profit then at the back end. So it's very similar in that respect.
Yeah.
I view the performing notes similar to, from the rental standpoint, without the maintenance calls, tenants, toilets, trash, all that kind of stuff, as just consistent ongoing cash flow on a monthly basis. I mean, as you well know, Justin, I mean, when you've got good performing notes, all we do pretty much is we check to make sure that the servicing company has that the rents have come in, that the mortgage payments have come in, right, and we're done for the month.
Yeah,
that's it. The servicing company we view very similar to having a property management company. Okay, they do all the heavy lifting, and we don't do that ourselves. We actually hire out for the collection of the mortgage payments, as you do as well. Mm-hmm. But having a licensed servicers that are servicing the notes, so it makes our life very, very simple, to be honest. I can tell you we could handle 100 notes for the effort that we put into our rentals, to be honest.
So that's a great topic of conversation that we should get into. So what is involved with owning that rental portfolio? You kind of described, and you described all the manpower, if you will,
sure,
of being involved logistically to move things around, to be able to respond to requests or problems, and then being on site and it's physical property. So you have the potential of liability as well. You've got, issues of somebody tripping on the sidewalk and suing you. Yep. You've got issues with somebody burning down the house. You've got issues with damage inside the house, or tenants that would walk out on you, and then you have vacancy problems. And so there's a lot of potentials there. You have mitigated a lot of that risk already because of your great communication and your system and processes. So you are far and beyond a lot of rental portfolio folks that I know, which is great for you. But you still mentioned there's still a lot of work involved with that, and there's still a lot of, you got to keep things moving and make sure everything is all the machines are oiled up to keep those gears turning.
Yeah, I look at it. I mean, there's pluses and minuses on the real estate side. I believe there's pluses and minuses on the note side.
Yeah.
Pluses on the real estate side is, particularly with the inflation that we're going through right now, you can adjust rents to help mitigate the inflation that's taking place, but you're only going to be able to do that to a certain extent. All right. I mean, if you take it up too high, your tenants aren't going to be able to afford the property.
Right.
Okay. So then you're going to force a turnover. And sometimes that has to be done. You have to make a judgment call there.
Right.
You do get the advantage of depreciation, but I would tell you, I mean, I know I've heard a lot of people, oh, well, I love the depreciation. Well, you and I both know that's a short that is a short-term benefit, because if you ever determine that you're going to sell that rental, hate to tell you, but all that depreciation is going to have to be recaptured, and it's taxed at 25%.
Yep.
Plus, your capital gains is going to be taxed at 15 or 20% on top of that. So your tax burden, what the tax man giveth, he also takes away. All right, when you sell. And the only way to get around that is to die. And that's not necessarily an option that I prefer to have right now.
I don't want that to be an option for you at all.
Yeah. so that's actually a downside. Okay. So a lot of people talk about the benefit of depreciation. It's short-lived. Okay. I'm in a situation where actually a number of our rentals are paid off. Okay. So the cash flow on them is very, very good. All right. But I still have, I'll call it, we have the monster out here that still has to be fed. And that monster is, even if it's paid off, even though I don't have a mortgage, I still have to upgrade the properties to keep competitive with what's going on to the market, and just the normal wear and tear that happens, all right, on a property from just people living in it. It's not that they're damaging necessarily, it's just the normal wear and tear. So you're always going to have capital improvements. You're always going to have a furnace that's going to need to be replaced, a roof that's going to be replaced. I mean, refrigerators, all of those types of things that have to be replaced, and you have to be putting money back for that all the time. On the note side, you don't typically have the hassles with the tenants, all right, because, and if the water heater goes out, there's no bank that gets a call, hey, my hot water heater went out. So you don't get those telephone calls. The downside from the notes, it's a little harder to be able to compensate from the inflation aspect, and there's a few strategies that you can use to help mitigate that, and how you're working within the notes and being an active investor. But to me, it really gets back to what you choose as your lifestyle, because the cash flow on both is very similar. All right, at least where I'm at now. Okay, for someone who has a lot of debt yet on the rental side, they're making $150, $200 a month. I'm going to tell you, your notes are going to cash flow a whole lot better than that.
Right.
Okay, but our notes cash flow as well as our rentals. So in my mind, if I could do it with less hassle and less phone calls and everything in that respect, the notes win. I'll just compensate, because I'll make the adjustment that I need on the taxes to be able to handle that. So that's kind of my thought.
You made some great points there. The tax implication and inflation and stuff. And so often I get asked the question about inflation, and especially today, people are concerned with, okay, if I invest in this note today and I'm expected to make this much yield on my money.
Sure.
Inflation is going up, or it's perceived to be going up. I don't know if there's a measure that's been a metric that's been out there today to show exactly what the government is saying it is right now. But we'll just, we can round up numbers or round down numbers all we want.
Sure.
So when people ask me the question, like, what do you do about inflation? And I say, what is your concern with the inflation? Because the money that you put into this capital investment, what was the inflation rate then? Like that's what you can be concerned with. What you can in the future, you can't really predict what happens in the future. You can't really know what's going to happen. So that's what I tell people, like, you have to focus on, when did you make the investment? Because what was the value of that dollar then versus what it is today? Because you're still making a really good return. It's just, things change. So you brought up a great point about, you have the opportunity still with a note, if you want to exit out of that note, whether you want to sell it to somebody or sell a partial, or like you mentioned, hypothecation, you can also borrow against it well. So you can hedge that and that risk and that mitigation. If you feel like the inflation is too much for you right now, you're trying to make a different return, or you need to recapitalize on your investment and go out and do something else, you're able to do that. So notes are extremely flexible in any way, shape, or form that a rental can be flexible as well. So I agree with what you're saying. There's a lot more work involved, and I've had pretty negative experiences with rentals. So I'm obviously not on the rental side for myself to make that part of my life, because I'm not trying to build a rental business, and I'm not trying to have several people working for me to run the rental business. I'd rather have a few people work for me to run a note business, which is what we do right now. So yeah, by all means, notes business is extremely more hands off, especially physically, than it is having a rental business. you brought up great points about, with the rental business, about every, I don't know, Jay, correct me if you disagree with me, or change my mind if you disagree with me, but about every 5 years, if everything is working well in a rental, if you flip it or prep it in a way that a tenant's going to have a pretty solid home, about every 5 years, you're fixing something major meaning like
Yeah, I would
HVAC or
say.
roof, or
Yeah.
some pretty significant money to be put back in there. So all the profit margin that somebody measures on a rental, they'd be like, oh yeah, I'm getting a 15 or 20% return. Yeah, that's great this year. But what about the years when you're going to have a negative 40% return?
Yeah.
And so the net overall that you make with that rental is pretty similar to note. And in most cases that I've found out, our notes are just a little bit more profitable, and it's extremely less work for you to do. So yeah, so that's kind of my take on it.
I would not disagree with you.
Yeah.
I mean, our experience to date so far with the note side has been exceedingly easier, less hassle, more flexibility across the board. Our plan is, as we build our note business to the point where it can replace some of our rental income, we plan to gradually scale back on the number of rentals that we have, and continue to keep building out the note business is our continued plan right now, because we have found it just so much easier, less hassle, and quality of life. Let's just put it that way. Quality of life.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that I'm getting, I'm a little older than you. Okay. I'm getting at a point where I want to be able to do this from anywhere in the world. And as long as I have a computer and an internet connection, literally we can do notes from anywhere that we want to be. So if we're on a trip, to Timbuktu or wherever, I can check in on things. Kyle's on board with that as well. He doesn't think he wants to continue to manage rentals for the rest of his life. I don't know why that would be the case, but
right, yeah.
And I'm with him. Okay, I understand that. But he would be okay managing a few, particularly our best ones that we have. Yeah. And you can manage 15, 20 yourself pretty comfortably with a good team around you. So we'll see.
Right, we'll see. So you did mention Kyle. He's your son-in-law, and you kind of have this business set up to where you can pass on a legacy down to him, and
that is correct,
and their generation as well. I like that. I like that about you. I'm glad that you are setting a legacy business to pass on the next generation, because I'm trying to do that as well, because I think this is pretty neat. If you start something, you can just pass it down and pass it down. So the generational wealth now can be pretty substantial, because things that you start today with the notes, or let's just throw in the rental business as well, could possibly be tenfold profit for somebody down the line in the generation.
Oh, absolutely. Particularly if you're doing some notes in a self-directed IRA, the impact. If you're stopping to figure out the amount of money that you're going to get over the life, if a note goes to term, okay, over that, it's huge. Okay. You don't need very many of those to go that long to hit home runs, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
And we both know that the vast majority will never go to full term, but still, the average note 7 to 10 years. You've got great cash flow in a tax-free environment, particularly if you're able to get it into a Roth IRA. And I have been, quite honestly, rolling money every year from my traditional over to my Roth to help accelerate that. Yeah, I'm taking the hit, but I'd rather take the hit on the seed money than on the exit.
Yeah, on the crop, right?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was one of the purpose. That was one of our missions when we started this, is that we wanted something that we could pass on to the next generation. And in my case, I only have one child, so we know where it's going. So
that's pretty easy. The path.
That one's pretty easy. Right? Yes.
Yeah. So Jay, you do some other things to help promote what you do and kind of educate and teach as well as I do too. And I believe you and Kyle have your little on-time presence, whether it's on social media or you use YouTube. And then you also have a group of people that follow you as well. So why don't you go ahead and plug what you guys do as far as, I think it's on social media where I see it. what you guys do monthly or weekly? I don't recall what it is.
Yes. We have a group. We meet on the last Thursday of every month, and to be able to get signed up on that, you can go to our website at CassidyInvestments.com, and that is our training. It's basically it's it's about an hour and a half that we make it open. We always bring a deal or two that we're working on at the particular time. If someone has a deal that they're working on, or if they just have general questions, it's a very open format. We don't record it, so it can stay very open, and you can ask all kinds of questions that you might have about note investing or what we're doing. We also have a book that we have put together. It's called Ask Kyle and Jay. All right, Be the Bank. And actually, our real estate investor group named this. Okay, so I didn't mean to jump on your on yours. But it's called Be the Bank, an introduction to note investing. If you're brand new to notes and you really know nothing about it, it is something to be. I would highly encourage you to consider it as an alternative type of investment, maybe in your portfolio. We are giving free copies of this away on the online version. All you have to do is go to CassidyInvestments.com, sign up for our quarterly newsletter that we send out, and you will get a downloaded digital copy of this that you can read directly online. It is simple reading. I'm not the fastest reader in the world, and I read it in 30 minutes. All right, when I practiced it, so it's very simple, very easy. But it just gives you an overview of what note investing is about, some of the basic strategies that's out there, and just so you have a general foundation as far as what note investing concerns. And then you can come on to the call, and learn a lot more of the nuts and bolts of how we invest and what we do in that respect. So
that's awesome. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, and thanks for bringing that to our audience here. So again, that's CassidyInvestments.com. That's CASSIDY. That's correct. Investments.com. Okay.
Yes.
Also, make sure we'll put that in the show notes as well for you. So, any other words of wisdom for owning a rental portfolio, or any words of unwisdom to say, like, you don't want to own a rental portfolio? Like, I know you've had good experiences because you explained the process and the procedure that you went through to do it. But if you had to do it all over again, are you still happy with the way that you went down your real estate path?
You know what? I am, for a couple reasons. Okay. And the reason being is that I believe, because of my experiences on the real estate side, particularly dealing with the non-performing notes, I have a much better knowledge base in which to handle a property that may come back to us. Okay. Yeah. We know all the exit strategies. We know all the different things that we can do with it. And quite honestly, though, in this market right now, we've not had one come back to us. So, I mean, they get sold at the sheriff's sale. So, but I'm very comfortable in that respect, in our knowledge base and our experience base in that. But what I would say is that if you are currently a real estate investor right now, you need to learn about notes. And the reason being is it gives you so many more exit strategies than what you're doing right now. Okay. I could not have done some of the deals that we've done in the last year had it not been for the fact that I learned about notes and how to capitalize on seller financing, and doing it in a way so that it has value in the secondary market. And that's the thing. There's a lot of real estate investors that do seller financing, and you and I have both seen these. All right, the notes that they create are very subpar, and they just don't have value, or there's even stuff in there that's just not legal. Okay. So learn about notes. It gives you more flexibility, and it's going to put more money in your pocket, is the bottom line.
Yeah, I think it comes down to, it's about reading the rules or understanding how to play the game.
Yes.
So I've learned that in anything I do in life, I can read the rules and understand them, but how do you play the game, or what strategies are involved in winning, is what separates the people that, know what they're doing and making money versus the people that struggle all the time. So yeah, I agree. I see a lot of professional real estate investors that aren't strong on the note side or the financial side of the business, and they make decisions based on what the culture has taught them growing up in the business, not really understanding or getting, some counsel or some advice from someone that's a note professional that's been doing it day in and day out for a very long time.
Right. I mean, an example that I have used on different occasions and just talking with people is just we did a flip that got way out of hand because it was one of those that the more you dug into it, the worse it got.
Yeah.
Okay. That never happens on a flip. No, not at all.
Right.
But the bottom line was, if we would have flipped that, we would have maybe made $5,000. Okay. We did it we ended up selling it on our seller financing with a wrap mortgage in place and everything. We made $15,000 up front, and we're making $366 a month for the next 20 plus years, and then we make $1,000 a month after that 20-year mark if it goes to full term. Nice. That sure beats the 5,000.
Yeah. There's ways to be very creative in this business. Yes. When you get into a jam, and having the note knowledge, if you will,
right,
helps you figure out ways to turn something bad into something great.
Really good. And I would not have had that knowledge had it not been for my experience in learning notes at that we would have only took the $5,000 and gone to another day. And I'm thinking, that was a slim margin, but that's a great one, because we got all of our money out of that deal right now.
Yeah.
And it's putting money in our pocket every month.
Yeah, and it's a repeatable model too.
Yep, it sure is.
All right, Jay, so switching gears a little bit here.
Sure.
Besides Be the Bank podcast, what podcast are you listening to right now that helps you either in business or life that we can kind of talk about?
You know what? I do listen to Jamie Bateman and Chris 70. Listen to that one. Okay. I do catch yours from time to time. The problem I have with yours is that the same night we have a mastermind that we run up here in Fort Wayne. It's the same night when you do yours. But I do catch a fair number of yours as well, as far as on the replay. Okay. I'm probably more of a reader of books than podcasts, to be quite honestly.
Yeah, it's fine.
I mean,
go and plug a book.
Yeah, many of the books out there, if you haven't read The Rich Dad, Poor Dad, you need to read that. That probably is what got me started in real estate. But the one that probably really got me was the Cash Flow Quadrant, because that made it so clear is that, okay, I need to get into a different quadrant than where I'm at right now. And that changed the game for me totally.
Absolutely.
Anything with Napoleon Hill, anything with how to win friends, influence people. I mean, if you're not strong on people skills, that is a great book. Okay. Those are just a few that I can think of just off the top of my head. University of Success, that's a great one as well.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different authors. That's a thick book. So if you're a big reader, okay, you'll be okay with that. But if you struggle reading this one, don't try that one, because that one's like 3 inches thick. Okay.
give me what they call it, a graphic novel where they're just balloons above people's heads with the words written in. That's the one I'm interested in, right? With more visuals. All right, Jay, thank you so much for being on our podcast episode number 6 for the season number 4. I'm Justin Bogard, BrightPath Notes. This episode is brought to you by BrightPath Notes. And Jay, is there a contact way that people can contact you besides going to CassidyInvestments.com and downloading or getting on your sign up?
Yeah, they can go. There's a form on our website. They can email us info@CassidyInvestments.com. Okay. But there's also, if you have a note, if you're up in my area, up in the Fort Wayne area, we have you can submit a note directly online, some information, so you can do that, or you can contact our office at 260-440-7443 and ask for Kyle or me, either one.
All right, Jay, again, thanks for being on the podcast today, my friend, for episode number 6. And for everyone listening, we'll see you next time. Don't forget to go to the BrightPath Notes YouTube channel to check out the video version of this podcast.
Thank you, Justin.
Hey, you're welcome, my friend. See you.
All right, bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Be the Bank. We hope you learned something from today's show. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate and review us. Plus, check out our BrightPath Notes channel on YouTube and follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Be The Bank and on Instagram at Be The Bank Podcast. Be The Bank is sponsored by BrightPath Notes. Thanks again for listening.